These are the Quran verses people use to call Islam violent, oppressive, or intolerant. But what do they actually say in Arabic? And what does the context tell us? Today, Quran 4:34 and 9:5. Let's find out. Let us begin where all interpretation must begin, with the original Arabic text. The relevant section of verse 4:34 reads, in transliteration, Ar-rijalu qawwamuna alan nisa'i wallatu takhafuna nushuzahunna fa'izuhunna wahjuruhunna fil madaji'i watribuhunna. Three instructions are given to a husband who fears what the verse calls nushuz from his wife. Each word in that chain carries centuries of debate. Let us take them one by one. The verse hinges on three Arabic words, each with significant translation ambiguity. Qawamun, protectors, maintainers, or guardians. Nushuz, marital discord, ill conduct. Scholars disagree on its exact scope, and the most contested of all, idribuhunna, from the root drb. This root appears in the Quran more than 20 times, meaning to travel, to give an example, to seal, to draw a veil. Before we even reach interpretation, the translation itself is already a choice. Let's look at how 6 respected translators have rendered the key verb idribuhunna. These are not fringe translations. These are among the most widely used English Qurans in the world. Pickthall in 1930, and scourge them. Yusuf Ali in 1934, and beat them lightly. Sahih International in 1997, and strike them. Muhammad Asad in 1980, then beat them. Lale Bakhtiar in 2007, and go away from them. Abdel Halim in 2004, and hit them. 6 translators, all credentialed scholars, 6 different English words, and then Lala Bakhtiar, the first woman to translate the full Quran into English, renders the same Arabic verb as go away from them, arguing that the root can mean separation or departure in this context. This is not cherry-picking. This is a genuine, unresolved scholarly debate. Translation is interpretation, and the interpretation here is far from settled. What virtually all translators agree on is the structure. Verse 434 outlines a 3-step process, not a single command. Step 1, admonish, speak, communicate. Step 2, separate in the marital bed. Step 3, the contested word. The Prophet Muhammad, according to multiple hadith, demonstrated this final step with a miswak, a toothbrush-sized stick, to convey that if any physical element was intended, it was symbolic, not injurious. Imam al-Shafi'i, writing in the 8th century, stated explicitly that a husband who refrains from this step entirely is acting better. This is not modern revisionism. It is classical jurisprudence. 14 centuries of scholarship consistently frame this verse as a regulation of conflict, not a permission for violence. A husband who beat his wife and caused harm was, in classical Islamic law, legally liable. The verse was never a blank check. The Quran was revealed into a society with no legal protections for women, where they could be inherited as property, where infant daughters were buried alive, where divorce was entirely in male hands. Against that backdrop, the Quran introduced inheritance rights for women, the right to refuse a marriage, and the right to initiate divorce. Revolutionary reforms for their time. Scholars who apply historical and contextual methods, including Khalid Abu al-Fadl and Amina Wadud, argue that the Quran's deeper principle is always the protection of human dignity. In a 7th century context, regulating a practice that could not yet be abolished was a step forward. In a 21st century context, with domestic violence laws and human rights frameworks, the same principle points in a different direction entirely. Principles travel through time. Specific rulings do not always have to. Now to Quran 9:5, the so-called sword verse. The Arabic reads, فَإِذَا إِن سَلَخَ لَشْهُرُ لُحُرُمُ فَاقْتُلُوا لِمُشْرِكَانَ حَيْثُ وَجَدْتُمُهُمْ, and immediately following, verse 9:6. وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ أَبْلِغُوا مَمَانَهُ. Verse 9:6 says, if any of the mushrikun, the very same group mentioned in 9:5, seeks your protection, grant it to him, let him hear the words of God, then escort him to safety. We will come back to this. The verse commands action against al-mushrikun. This word does not mean non-Muslims. It does not refer to Jews or Christians. The Quran uses entirely different terms for them. It refers specifically to the polytheist tribal groups of Arabia. And crucially, as verse 9:4 makes clear, not all of them. Only those who had violated their peace treaties. Here too, translation choices reveal important distinctions. Look at how translators handle the same verse. Pickthall, slay the idolaters wherever you find them. Yusuf Ali, fight and slay the pagans wherever you find them. Sahih International, kill the polytheists wherever you find them. Muhammad Asad, notably, keeps the Arabic word, slay these mushrikun wherever you may come upon them. A deliberate choice to prevent the term being misread as universal. And Mustafa Khattab in 2016 adds a clarifying phrase directly in brackets, kill the polytheists who violated their treaties. He considers that meaning so embedded in the context that omitting it would be misleading. The same Arabic text, rendered in ways that carry vastly different implications for a reader without context. Surah 9 was revealed in approximately 630 CE. The Muslim community in Medina had signed formal peace treaties with several tribal groups. Some broke those treaties, attacking allied communities, coordinating against the Muslim state. Verse 9:1 declares those specific treaties void. Verses 9:2 through 9:4 provide a 4-month grace period, and verse 9:4 explicitly exempts tribes who had honored their agreements. Honor your treaty with them to the end of its term. Verse 9:5 then addresses what happens after the grace period, specifically and only for the treaty-breaking groups. It is a declaration of war against specific enemies who had broken specific signed agreements. It is not a general license to kill non-Muslims anywhere on earth. Ibn Kathir, one of the most authoritative classical commentators, was explicit. This verse concerns the polytheist groups who violated their covenants, not all non-Muslims. The claim that 9:5 abrogates all peaceful verses is a minority position held by ultra-conservative scholars. And here is something worth pausing on. That same decontextualized reading is also the one used by jihadist recruiters. Anti-Islam polemicists and extremist ideologues rely on the exact same selective quote. For opposite purposes, that alignment should tell us something. The mainstream position across Islamic scholarship, and for most of Islamic history, is that the world is not a permanent battlefield between Muslims and non-Muslims. The great pluralist periods of Islamic civilization, Andalusia, Abbasid Baghdad, the Ottoman millet system, were built on a legal framework of coexistence, not perpetual war. Verse 9:5 is a historically specific war declaration against a specific enemy in a specific conflict 14 centuries ago. Its principle, that treaty violations have consequences, remains valid. Its application as a mandate for violence against non-Muslims today is not supported by the classical tradition and is actively rejected by the overwhelming majority of Muslim scholars worldwide. 2 verses, multiple translators, 14 centuries of scholarship, and far more complexity than a screenshot can hold. This series doesn't claim the Quran is beyond criticism. It claims that context, linguistic, historical, and moral, is not optional. If you want to go deeper, the sources are linked below. Subscribe for the next episode. Take care.